בשפה העברית, אבל המרצה הבא שלנו ידבר בשפה האנגלית, ועל כן אני גם אציג אותו מפאת כבודו בשפה האנגלית. Professor Benjamin ללוש is an associate professor of the Department of History at the University of Paris 8. He specializes in early Ottoman Egypt. He published 2 books on this subject, Les Ottomans en Égypte, 2006, and Conquête ottomane de l'Égypte, 1517, a collective book edited with Nicolas Michel, 2013. He has just published a book on the events commemorated by the Purim of Cairo and on the historiography of these events. Ahmed Pasha et les Juifs du Caire, 1523-1524, Histoire et historiographie, זה יצא בבריל 2024, in which he made use not only of Hebrew sources, but also of Turkish, Arabic, Italian, and Latin sources. Professor ללוש will talk on new perspective on Megillat Mitzrayim. Please, you have to.
I will start with well-known things. The Megillat Mitzrayim relates the sufferings of the Jews in Cairo during the revolt of the Ottoman governor Ahmed Pasha against Suleiman the Magnificent in 1524. It relates also the happy end, the crushing of the revolt.
Okay,
yeah, the crushing of the revolt, the death of Ahmed Pasha, the restoration of Ottoman rule, and the joy of the Jews.
Because you're probably muted and he can't hear you on the Zoom.
Ah.
עכשיו שומע?
כן, עכשיו שומע.
Thank you. So the oldest witness on the Megillah is the summary of the text by Yosef ibn Verga. Yosef ibn Verga edited for publication his father's chronicle, Shevet Yehuda. It was edited in Edirne in the Ottoman Empire in 1554. And he summarized the text. Yosef ibn Verga summarized the Megillah and inserted it in his father's Shevet Yehuda when he edited it for publication. We have also the full text. The full text has been edited many times, but last by Benjamin Harry. The full text of the Megillah is documented by several manuscripts. Benjamin Harry has proposed rough dates for the manuscripts, 17th, 18th, or 18th, 19th century. It doesn't seem that any manuscript predates the 17th century. So we have to consider the text, which was summarized by Verga, as older than the full text as it has come down to us. There are 2 versions of the full text, which Benjamin Harry has labeled version A and version B. Version A is longer, more detailed, and mentions names of people and places. Version B is shorter, more abstract. It reflects more the Jewish experience everywhere and at all times in exile, whereas version A is more rooted in the Egyptian context. Version B is certainly derived from version A. So the account was contracted and given a general scope with version B. The narrative structure of the two versions is more or less the same one, but there are also an important difference in the plot between the long and the short versions. In version A, there is a central Jewish character, Avraham Castro, the master of the mint, who refuses to mint coins in the name of Ahmed Pasha and flees to the capital to inform the king. Some of his clients are caught and put to death by Ahmed. At the very end of the text, Avraham Castro comes back to Egypt together with the new governor of Egypt, to which the king Suleiman orders, Lo ta'aseh davar b'Mitzrayim ki im alpi Avraham Castro. It's no surprise that Avraham Castro is not mentioned by name in version B, of course, because version B doesn't mention anyone by name. But the two passages, the two excerpts, the flight of Castro and his return to Cairo at the end of the text, have disappeared from version B. Whereas it would have been possible to narrate the two episodes without mentioning Abraham Castro by name. So the plot in version B is not parallel to the plot in version A, and the two versions have not the same significance. Let's turn to the comparison. It doesn't seem to work. The next slide. C'est bon. Yes, this one. Yeah, thank you. Let's turn now to the comparison between the summary and the full text. Of course, it's not easy to compare a summary with a full text because Josephine Verga, when he summarized the Megillah, has withdrawn pieces of information from the text he summarized. But he has certainly not added or modified any. In fact, the summary of the Megillah is very different from the full text. The summary starts with measures taken by Suleiman in each of the first years of his reign. Each of the first 3 years of his reign. The first year, the king does this. The second year, he does that. And the third year is the year of the appointment of Ahmed as governor of Egypt. The full text starts directly with the appointment of Ahmed. So in the summary, the date of the appointment of Ahmed and arrival of Ahmed in Cairo is according to the years of reign, whereas in the full text, it's a date by day, month, and year. The dates of Ahmed's arrival in Cairo, they are not the same. In the summary, it is 5283, which ends on September 9, 1523, whereas in the full text is the 4th of Shevat, 5284, which is 9 January. There's a big difference of dating between the two texts, the summary and the full text. The date of the death of Ahmed Pasha, as you see, is not the same, 27th or 28th of Adar. Coming now to the Muslim characters mentioned by name. There are 5 in Verga's summary and 7. Of course, it's no surprise that there are more Muslim characters mentioned by name in the full text version A than in a summary. But there is a character, Zada, in Verga's summary, which does not appear in the full text. I've identified this man thanks to the Turkish chronicle of Diyarbakir, which I will speak about it. It's Kazı Zada. Zada in Persian, it's the son of. So in the end, it's Kazı Zada, the treasury of Ahmed. The Jewish characters mentioned by name, there is no in Verga, and 6, including Castro, in the full text. Not only is Avraham Castro not referred to by name in the summary, but all the story of his refusal to meet coins, his flight to Istanbul, and his return to Cairo at the end does not appear in the summary. And the figures also differ, the sum of money claimed from the Jews, for instance. So, my conclusion at this stage, I don't think that the text which was summarized by Inverga was the first draft of the full text which has come down to us. I don't think that this text has been modified or rewritten. In my opinion, there were two different Megillahs. The Megillah of Cairo is not a text with several versions, but there are two Megillah, the second of which, the full text, is documented by two versions, version A and version B, and version A is both Hebrew and Judeo-Arabic. As we know of no manuscript of the Megillah from which Yosef Inverga's summary is taken. So it seems that this Megillah, the text which was summarized by Inverga, was gradually replaced by another one, the one which is the full text edited by Benjamin Harry. But the second text, the second Megillah, the full text edited by Benjamin Harry with its different versions, had not been written in one day by one author. In the full text, the date of the arrival of Ahmed Pasha in Cairo is grossly inaccurate. Yitzhak Yereskiel Yehuda, when he edited the text in 1827, noticed that the date of the arrival of Ahmed Pasha in Cairo is grossly inaccurate, and he pointed out that, as he said, the writer of this Megillah was not contemporary of the events he reported. Yehuda had an intuition that there were several Megillahs because he wrote this Megillah. At the same time, the full text version A mentioned the enthronement of Ahmed as sultan by Ben Khalfon, Ibn al-Khalifa in the Judeo-Arabic translation. This piece of information in the full text version A is confirmed by the Turkish chronicler Diyarbakri and later by an Arabic chronicler Al-Ghazi. But it has been completely passed over in silence by all Turkish and Arabic chroniclers. In Diyarbakri and Al-Ghazi, you have the account of the enthronement, the investiture of Ahmed by the son of the Abbasid Caliph. And Ben Khalfon in the full text and Ibn al-Khalifa in the Judeo-Arabic, so is the son of the Caliph. To sum up, the information given in the full text is in some respects little known, that story of the investiture of Ahmed by the Abbasid Caliph, and in some respects it's little known and close to the events, and in other respects, I mean the date of the arrival of Ahmed Pasha in Cairo, it is completely inaccurate. The question of the authorship of the Megillah seems to me pointless. It's an old debate. Was it written by Shmuel Sidilio or by the Radbaz? First, if we consider that there were two Megillahs, the one which was summarized by Inverga and the one which has come down to us as the full text, there were at least two authors. And even for the full text, it seemed to me that the author cannot be only Sidilio or only the Radbaz, because I can hardly imagine that either of them, who were witnesses of the revolt, would have grossly misdated the arrival of Ahmed. The text has evolved over generation, and the full text, as it has come down to us, is a late achievement. A good example of the evolution of the text is the character Al-Kharkamani. In the version A of the full text of the Megillah, Ish Echidehaya Bepisgat Habira Ushemo. So Benjamin Harry read. Benjamin Harry's edition is a diplomatic edition. It means he uses one manuscript at the basis of his edition, and he put the variant readings in the footnotes. So in the main text of Benjamin Harry, he reads Ibrahim al-Kharkamani on the basis of a manuscript from the Jewish Theological Seminary, but variant readings in the footnotes read Avraham al-Kharkamani. And it's in the English translation, Benjamin Harry follows the variant readings and he writes in English Avraham. Yitzhak Yereskiel Yehuda, which heard the Megillah read in Cairo in the early 20th century, wrote Avraham al-Kurkumani. In Samkari, well, I say Samkari, everyone calls him Sambari, but Shimon Stober has shown convincingly that we must say Samkari. Samkari wrote Ibrahim, according to the Stober edition, Ibrahim al-Kurkumani. In the Megillah, it's Mani, and in Kapsali, the short chronicle on the revolt of Ahmed Pasha, it is Bar Kimani. Ushmo Bar Kimani migdolei Aravim ve'avirehem. In fact, when you see the Turkish chronicle of Diyarbakri, Kapsali was right. Kapsali was right. It was Markabani. Markabani was a Muslim. And he was an Arab. Migdolei Aravim ve'avirehem. Markabani tashra abdam bedevijin sinden birkim seidi. You know what it is, an Arab? It's a person whose ancestry comes down to the Arabian Peninsula. His ancestry went back to the Arabian Peninsula. So, with the evolution of the text, the name of Ibrahim al-Markabani, because its right name is Ibrahim al-Markabani, as we know from Diyarbakri. The name of Ibrahim al-Markabani has been badly damaged. It is Mani al-Kharkamani, and so on. And his Muslim identity has been forgotten. From Shlomo Rosanes to Yitzhak Yereskiel Yehuda and to Benjamin Harry, everyone has wrongly considered him as a Jew. Moving now to another character, Avraham Castro. As we saw earlier, Castro plays a decisive role in the full-text version A, in refusing to meet coins, informing Suleiman of the treason of Ahmed, and in returning back gloriously to Cairo at the end of the text. Not only is Castro not referred to by name either in the summary or in the full-text version B, but there is no reference at all to Castro either in the summary or in the full-text version B. Let's turn to Kapsali. Kapsali, the rabbi from Crete, who wrote a short chronicle of the revolt. In the account of Kapsali, Castro is arrested at the synagogue in Yom Kippur. He is beaten and held for ransom. He fears being killed, so he goes underground the day after Kippur. Jews of his staff are arrested, tortured, and put to death, but Castro manages to escape to Istanbul, where he is received by Suleiman, and he tells him what he has been through. Surprisingly enough, the account of Kapsali is confirmed by the Turkish chronicle of Diyarbakri. So as you see, it's a history of Egypt in Turkish, written by the Qadi of Dumyat, but he built on an eyewitness of the account of the revolt, which I read a translation of Diyarbakri. On the 10th of this month of Dhul Qa'dah, the Jewish quarter was raided in order to arrest the master of the mint, Ibrahim. It's Avraham Castro. He had fled, so he was not caught. And the Subashi, or Ottoman officer, subjected his Jewish clients and staff to most painful torture. Look at the date. Dhul Qa'dah is the day after Yom Kippur. That's incredible. The same date, the same very day is given by both Kapsali and Diyarbakri. It's certain that Avraham de Castro fled on the day after Yom Kippur. Why did he go underground? There are two explanations in the sources. According to Kapsali, Castro fled, fear being killed, after the unparalleled outrage of being arrested and beaten in Kippur. According to the Megillah, version A, Castro fled after refusing to be coined in the name of Ahmed Pasha, and in order to inform the king of Ahmed's treason. Kapsali's explanation is much more convincing than the Megillah. Ahmed started to prepare his revolt immediately after arriving in Cairo in August the 30th, 1523, by extorting money from notables, by demobilizing Janissaries. But he did not open revolt until February 1524. For months, he continued, for instance, to send presents to Istanbul. He proclaimed himself Sultan and was invested by the son of the Abbasid Caliph on February the 12th, 1524. So it is highly unlikely that he ordered Castro to mint coins in his name, which would have meant openly revolting before February 1524. The idea, so I have no time to mention, there is also a Latin source on the treason of Ahmed, but I have no time to mention it. In any case, Jewish chroniclers from the 16th century, as you see, both Kapsali and Yosef HaKohen, they do not think, they say explicitly that Suleiman learned the revolt from messengers, not from Castro. To sum up, Castro went underground on September 20. He didn't receive the order to meet coins in the name of Ahmed, and he didn't escape from Cairo to inform Suleiman of the revolt. Castro escaped 3 weeks after Ahmed's arrival in Cairo. So during the 6 months-long governorship of Ahmed, and especially when the Jewish quarter was attacked and looted on February the 8th, 1524, Castro could hardly play the role of a Mordechai. He's not at all a Mordechai who saved the Jews. He escaped. So I can hardly imagine that the idea of a Castro Mordechai, which we find in the full text version 8, appeared shortly after the revolt of Ahmad Pasha. I have no time, but my main conclusion is that the creation of a Castro Mordechai, which we find in the full text version A, is a late process. And maybe the version B, in which the story of a Castro Mordechai doesn't appear, shows a kind of resistance to that idealization and glorification of Avraham de Castro.